All right, kicking off, just going over the tier list that I have for each of the weapons. So this is starting with what I consider the easy tier for each of the weapons. It's an easy grind. You'll have to do basically world tier activities or just activities that has been in the game for a while that's been designed for the easier or the beginner friendly player. So anything that I have in the blue is not doesn't really apply. So what you will want to screenshot is anything with what's worth deep sight harmonizers, and for the easy tier, just about, spoiler alert, nothing is really worth the deep sight harmonizers. Then just going to the next tier down, what's worth the weapon grind. I did what I kind of sort of think is best to least, but not really. So just don't hold me to what I feel like the best to least is. And besides, this is my tier list. So if you have your own tier list, feel free to show it. And this is only for crafted weapons within Destiny 2. So in getting started, I will only be talking about the weapons that are worth grinding. You could Google and look up the passive grind weapons. Just to easily be able to look at this, just go to your patterns and catalyst to be able to see what the weapon is and how many there are. So just getting started with the Ammit AR2. This is a very, 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 very solid gun, especially for PvP as well as PvE. You only really need 2 of the weapon. You could get dynamic sway reduction as well as incandescent. And if you're playing PvP, you could do dynamic sway and tap the trigger. Very, very, very strong perk combination. I personally use this gun for PvP. It's very strong. Yeah, from there, I would go for the other half. You only require 1 roll of this. Similar, the Ammit, you only require, I believe, 1 or 2 rolls of the Ammit. This is good as far as if you know about Eager Edge. It's a traversal friendly weapon. If you like to have fun, just go through the EDZ or anything open world. You'll use this just to have fun. If you're a speedrunners definitely use this, but I'm not a speedrunner. I play the game to have fun, but here you go for the other half. So that's my second recommendation. The Osteo Striga is a very strong gun. It's actually going to be nerfed in the final shape. However, fairly strong. Has poison damage, and you could get this gun very easy by just completing the Witch Queen campaign. Next up is the Iterative Loop. So you could farm this on Niamuna. It is a pretty good gun. I don't have this weapon roll. However, just following the rolls, you could get Volt Shot Compulsive Reloader or Volt Shot Lead from Gold. I would actually go from either Volt Shot Lead for Gold as my perk combination. And yeah, that's the Iterative Loop. Next up is the BXR-55 Battler. For the ones that love Halo 3 and has a Halo 3 fantasy, this is the gun for you. It's basically the Halo 3 battle rifle. Pretty strong weapon. It has a bunch of strong combinations for PvP. This is basically a really good PvP weapon. However, if you want to use it for PvE, you could have Demolitionist and Incandescent. But very, very, very strong rolls on this. And if you have no other weapon, this is just something to farm passively, as if you complete Dares of Eternity, it's a very, very, very good encounter just for you to get passive heavy ammo kills if you have heavy ammo weapons that you want to level up via crafting, or if you have catalysts that you want to use. Definitely farm Dares of Eternity just to get those weapons, and you'll get these weapons passively. So you'll get the battle rifle, and I definitely farm the other half just to even have Eager Edge. So while you're doing that, go ahead, get your battle rifle. Next up is the Retraced Path. This is a trace rifle for all of the trace rifle lovers out there. Spoiler alert, all of the trace rifles are good, so you might as well just go ahead and farm them all with all encounters that I come up. This is also in There's of Eternity. Has some pretty good rolls. Go for Subsistence and Incandescent. So enough said for that one. Empirical Evidence. This is actually a sleeper, and it's crazy because I actually got the tip on this weapon from somebody within a raid that I was doing, and they were like, hey, look at these 9,000 kills I got on this weapon, all because that there was a glitch with the Empirical Evidence back in the day. I was like, you know what? I don't have any sidearms. Let me give it a try. And you know what? It is a pretty freaking... Let me say this again. You know what? It's a pretty fucking good gun. So give it a shot. You could try any of these rolls. I will have my roll on the screen. Just go ahead and get some kills with it. Have fun. Yeah. If I butcher this name and any other name after this, you know what? I don't give a fuck. This is my video. You're here to be entertained, so be entertained by my bad pronunciation. And this is the Syncopatation 53. So this is the Syncopatation 53. It's a pretty fucking good pulse rifle. It has Outlaw and Headstone for PvE, or you could roll with Zen Moment and Head Seeker. Moving Target, Head Seeker, Moving Target, Rangefinder is a pretty good PvP weapon, and you could get this for fairly low rolls. So if you're just a new player and you just want to get into PvP as soon as possible and just get the trials and do all that, just go ahead and use this gun. Next up is the Phyllotactic Spiral. This is a arc energy weapon. This rolls with Keep Away Volt Shot, or you could get Under Over Volt Shot. Honestly, for low mid-tier content, I used Under Over for the majority of the game. It did me well. It may be an underrated perk. You know what? It is what it is. Going back to the tier list, this is what I got from my weapons worth grinding. They are fairly low to grind for. All the other ones are just like get it if you can. Actually, the Tarpon is pretty good, but there are other weapons stronger than it that are void variant. In the mid-tier grind, some of what I have in the mid-tier grind can be considered easy tier. However, Final Shape is coming, and you know what? These guns may be going in the next season, so it is what it is. Going to the mid-tier, starting with what's worth deep sight harmonizers. So everything I have at the top is most definitely worth deep sight harmonizers. We do not know what's going to happen after this season with the season of the wish weapons and the season of the deep weapons. They will probably get absorbed to the associated exotic quests. We do not know. And because we do not know, I will put this in the mid tier because, yeah, if they're associated with exotic quests, it may take time. It may not take time. It just depends on how long the quest is. And going to the biggest weapon that you will want to use all your deep sight harmonizers on, what you want is the Aquilos SMG. It drops from Operation Seraph Shield. And that exotic mission, it honestly takes like 30 minutes just to get done with the mission, and it's just a crazy long mission for no reason. I don't really like it. For the ones who say, yeah, I really like that weapon, blah, 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 cool. You could like doing that mission. I don't really like it. The only weapon you really want from this is the Aquilos SMG. The shotgun's all right, but there's plenty of other better shotguns that you could get for shorter time if you actually do the encounter. So, yeah, go for really this. If you get 5 of them, regardless if they're red borders or not, I would just use all my deep sight harmonizers on this for sheer just how good the weapon is in general, because it has Volt Shot and Feeding Frenzy, or Volt Shot Dynamic Sway. You cannot go wrong with it. It just has Volt Shot, and Volt Shot is pretty strong on the Aquilos SMG for ad clear. Yeah, And leading from that to the next weapon on our list, that is the Calus Mini-Tool. The Calus Mini-Tool comes from the Presage exotic mission. This is on what was previously on a 3 exotic mission rotator each week. Now, Presage, honestly, to me, is the more fun of the 2 missions. It has you doing more straightforward things. You could get it done in about 20 minutes. You can run it with some friends. They can help open doors for you. And this weapon has very strong perks on it. Namely, you can heal by getting kills with Unrelenting. It has a strong origin trait. And the perks that people typically use is Unrelenting plus Incandescent. This gun really speaks for itself. Once you use it, you can use it for medium tier, high tier, early game. Like, it's just a pretty fun weapon to use. And in this season, Solar Surge just made it even better. So yeah, just go for that weapon. Next up is Drang. Drang is strong in PvP. For all my PvP lovers, just it comes from Presage. Just go ahead and just get used to it. If you get 5 of these, honestly, if you love PvP, just go ahead and use those 5. Deep Sight Harmonizer on this first, because it is a really good weapon, and it takes like I said, takes about 30 minutes to go through the mission. But yeah, about 20 minutes to go through the mission. But yeah, it's a pretty strong, pretty good perks. But there's some better weapons you can use. PvE is pretty good too. So yeah, there goes Drang. And every time I look at that, I really want to think it says barbecue. I don't know if I'm hungry or not, but yeah. Going to the next weapon is the Scatter Signal. This is probably the strongest fusion rifle or strongest secondary weapon you could use all season. It has overflow and controlled burst. Overflow just overflows the mag automatically no matter what, and controlled burst, you shoot faster and it gets more damage the more shots you use. When you use this for bossing, when you use bait and switch, that's my personal go-to. Just use bait and switch with one of my upcoming weapons that I recommend, as well as using controlled burst and overflow. It's just a great perk combination no matter what primary weapon you use in the energy slot. So this is in the kinetic slot. It's very strong. You got what is probably going to be in the Starcross mission or whatever they have coming up in the future. Get this weapon, farm for it, use your deep sight harmonizers, and just go pew 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 and kill everything. Going to the next weapon, the Doom Petitioner. This is a very strong weapon. It is a void weapon. Void Surge is very strong for Void Surge. It comes with reconstruction as well as surrounded for certain situations. However, you would really want to use Precision Instrument. This is strong. Yes, when you have the Divinity bubble, there's something going on with Precision Instrument. Maybe they'll fix it sometime in the future, whatever. I don't care. Get this weapon, farm for this weapon. It basically supersedes the Tarpon, so just go ahead and get this weapon and just have it in your vault or use it. It's strong, especially if you don't have the Cataclysmic or something like that yet. This will get you through almost all your end game when linears are required. Going to the Whisper of the Worm. If you do not already have this weapon and its catalyst, it now has a exotic mission. The exotic mission pays homage to the previous exotic mission that came out before in Destiny 2. It is a good mission. It is a fun mission. You could do some of the secret stuff and the legendary stuff if you're up for it. And this is why I put it in the medium tier, because, you know, some people don't really do exotic missions. However, if you have some people who can help you out, or if you just want to go through the challenge of doing some puzzles, use the Whisper of the Worm. It is utilized in some raid content, a lot of raid content, really some raid content, King's Fall. Oryx, and there's some other stuff that you use it for, but pretty decent weapon. So that is the Whisper of the Worm. Whisper if you like it. Now to the Beloved. This is the next tier down. This is just weapons you want to grind for. Honestly, if you are a PvP player, this is probably something you want to use your deep sight harmonizers on over the Drang, because you know, maybe you like the Drang more, whatever, or like maybe you like this more than the Drang, whatever. Has a very strong perk pool for you sniper users. You know, sometimes I like using it in sniping, and sometimes I just hate y'all fuckers. But you know what? Can't hate the game. Use the snipers, use snapshot, move and target, whatever you like. Great weapon for you PvP guys. Next up is the Appetence. This is a kinetic stasis trace rifle. Now this rolls with overflow and kill and tally. Pretty fucking strong just for any trace rifle, and if there's a surge or if the artifact mods for trace rifles, like, it just makes it even that much better for your build. As well as now that we do have Prismatic coming in the final shape, this is a great weapon to pair with some of your darkness classes to build up your Prismatic build for the dark side, as well as, you know, use some of the other weapons for the light side. So go for it. This is also within Season of the Wish, so whatever this comes for later on, whenever Bungie does re-release this weapon, definitely farm for this, as it's a pretty darn good weapon. It also comes with Headstone. Headstones is alright. I use it. I don't know. Not all weapons is pretty good with Headstone. Maybe they need to buff it. Maybe Headstone's good. You guys tell me in the comments if it's already good or not. Going to my next weapon is the Austringer. This is also a great PvP weapon. If you do not have a great Trials hand cannon, I would personally use this with Eye of the Storm and Keep Away. I would personally use this with something like Eye of the Storm and Rangefinder, or you can use Snapshot Rangefinder. Has plenty of perk options for you PvP lovers out there. Get it. It is farm from the Presage quest. It's not too hard. If you have 5, go for it. If not, just farm for it while you're going for that Calus Mini-Tool, because you know Destiny is a PvE game and PvP too. You know they're getting there up there with PvP. So you know what? Farm for it. Go for it. Just go for it. Next up is the Subjunctive. This is basically the budget-friendly Aquilos SMG. Good fucking SMG. If you can't get the Aquilos because you just can't be bothered by playing that exotic mission, just going through remembering those codes, yeah, maybe it's the same code every time, but God, it's just, why is it so unnecessarily long? Just cut it down a little bit. But whatever. This is like the Walmart version of the Aquilos, while Aquilos is like Sam's Club or Costco's. You want this when you just want to smile too, you know? So yeah, go for the Subjunctive. After that, you know, go for this Disparity. It's really good in PvP, really good in PvE, has some good rolls. Rapid hit plus Desperado. If you don't have the Messenger, you can use this too. Go pew pew pew. Got some good PvPe rolls too. I did say PvP already, so just go for it. Just go for it. Pretty easy to get. If you don't have any deep sight harmonizers and you're already going for the Aquilos SMG, this is a good thing to get passively as well. So you know what? It is what it is. Just get it. Just get it. Next up is the Eremite. Now this was from Season of the Witch. And before the scatter signal came out, everybody was like, oh, this is a great gun. This is a great gun. Which it is, because it has controlled burst on it and Invidious Assassin. However, just something about the scatter signal it just took just took the lead and just made a better investment of my time to just go with that one. I even used this weapon to just get all my kills for my newest title, for the 2023 title. And granted, it wasn't all the way crafted, but goodness, I was just ready to use the scatter signal again. However, that's because the scatter signal was just that great. This is good too. I'm just saying, it just scatter signal, it's just a work of art. Next up, pulse rifles are getting a buff. The Scalar Potential, I definitely think is good. Just about every weapon in Season of the Wish was just chef's kiss, and this is good for PvP. So just go ahead, and if you are a PvP lover, get this. Get your keep away head seeker roll if you just want a different gun to play with, utilize. If you're a PvP lover, I don't really go for this weapon. I got other weapons to use. If you use this weapon, leave a comment down below of some of your favorite moments, if you had any, or if this weapon just sucks, just say, Jamal, this weapon sucks. However, it's a great weapon to go for. You're going for the scatter signal, you might as well get this too, because it has some great perks to go for. The Path of Least Resistance is an arc energy weapon that loads with both dynamic sway reduction in the third column, as well as volt shot in the fourth column. And to me, I think that's pretty good. Or you could just go with Subsistence Volt Shot. This does come from Operation Seraph Shield with the Ikilos SMG. So if you're farming it, you get 2 free red borders each week for farming this mission out. So you might as well do it at least twice, even if it's not going for it all the way just to get all these weapons. So get the Path of Least Resistance. It's good. And it's arc, just to even out all of your crafted trace rifles. Next up is the Hollow Denial. This is energy, and it comes from the Precise mission, and this comes with both killing tally and repulsor brace in the fourth column, as well as lead from gold in the third column. Or if you have spec into a void build, you could just use repulsor brace for that. Pretty good perk combination. You can roll with both of them. So yeah, go for it. It's fun to get, and it's a fun mission to do. Next up is the Supercluster. This is the shotgun from Season of the Wish. This rolls with Slice, which is pretty good, as well as Reconstruction in the first column and Surrounded in the second column. So you know what, you're always around enemies when you're using a shotgun, so just to have Reconstruction and Surrounded, just to have that damage buff, it's pretty strong. And you can also get Cascade Point or Vorpal Weapon, just depending on the content that you're doing. So have fun, slay out, kill these guys, and just, you know, use a pretty good shotgun. And it's easy to get, easy enough to get. Next up is Brya's Love. This is an energy scout rifle. I actually use this to get all of my kills for Season of the Wish, and it has a pretty good combination of explosive payload, and I use Keep Away. It was all right, but you could use Rapid Hit. You can also do the stabilizer rounds. You can't really go wrong with this, and you can enhance the perks. So yeah, Brya's Love is just something good for those guys specking into anything for their Void class. Next up is the Fixed Odds. This is actually the outlier and probably the only weapon that is from a dungeon that I would recommend you farm for, to get some, just to, you know, finish out your collection, you know, if you are someone like that. This comes with Under Pressure, Feed and Frenzy, Incandescent. You know, you could build craft, theory craft, have fun with it. This is just a pretty good side weapon to go for when, you know, you just have everything or you just want to farm something. And it's a dungeon that you could get it in, so just have some fun in the game, you know. It's a lot of things to enjoy. Next up is the Retrofit Escapade. You could get this weapon within the Operation Seraph Shield, and while you're going for the Aquilos SMG, you could get this too. It's a Void heavy machine gun. It rolls with both 4th times the charm, and you could get target lock or you could get Vorpal weapon. It just depends on what you're going for. Pretty good perk combination, an interesting perk combination. I don't think you could get this on everything, so yeah, just go for it, especially if you don't have something like the commemoration just yet. And that is a great segue to my high tier level items. This is for people who raid and just enjoy raiding, and honestly, to me, I have this as high tier, and it's mostly because the people that you raid with and the fact that you got to do this with 6 other people. However, if you know the mechanics, and most times if you know the ins and outs of a raid encounter is at most 8 to 10 minutes, especially if you're just farming out a specific encounter for certain weapons. So just Google the weapon that you're looking for and Google the encounter. Sometimes it's easier than you think to go for it, and some encounters may be a little bit harder than others. However, the loot is always worth it. Raid loot will always be worth it, because when you do this, and I do not have it shown here, but the masters and the adept variants of all of these weapons will be enhanceable in the final shape, and you'll be able to craft those enhanceables in a way that where you could change your barrel and all of that. No, you can't change your perks themselves. However, if you get them or have them currently, you could change the barrels to make them into the perfect enhanced weapon, because you already have the god roll of the crafted version of these. Now, I had this partially out off the top. Now, as you can see, this is what I have worth using deep side harmonizers for. And this is honestly if your loot is just sucks or whatever, but just grind these things, man, because the raid's fun. You get a whole bunch of loot from it. You get a bunch of enhancement cores and all of that. And you could just meet a whole bunch of different people. So like, there's a lot of personalities. And if you do enjoy personalities, I do have a video that I've gone over all the personalities of Destiny 2 players. And you know, if you actually like that and like this video and made it this far, just leave a comment saying Maul on the moon too soon. All right, so going into our weapons, starting with the Apex Predator. This is a 10 out of 10 must-have weapon. This rolls with Reconstruction plus Bait and Switch. Honestly, if you're not used to using Beta Switch, just get used to trying it out, because it is a really good perk. It gives you 35% additional weapon damage, and if you could just slot in like the scatter signal or any fusion rifle in between your shots while it's reloading for you automatically, you'll see that you have like the highest damage out of anybody. And you know what, if you care about being the damage dealing guy, use a weapon like this or a grenade launcher. Next up, I have the Zaouli's Bane. This is basically the mini Sunshot. Now, while the Sunshot is getting a nerf in the final shape, hand cannons in general is getting a buff. So that means this is getting a buff, and this rolls with explosive payload and incandescent. Yes, the Fatebringer also rolls with that. However, this is crafted so it can be enhanced, and it just feels better to use this weapon, and it frees up your kinetic slot for a different weapon if you enjoy using your energy slot for primaries. So yes, get this, farm this. It's a 10 out of 10 must have. And this does drop from King's Fall raid. Each week that it is available as the weekly playlist, you can farm, I believe, the Golgoroth encounter and the final encounter, I believe maybe Daughters as well, and you could get this weapon to roll no problem. Golgoroth is pretty easy to do if you have a good team that works together, And yeah, this is 100% worth it to get out of the raid. Next up, I do have the Succession. This is farmed from the Deep Stone Crypt, and you could use basically a bug if you could get the Parasite weapon, which comes from the Witch Queen, and do the Atrax encounter. You pretty much 3 people go up, kill everybody in the top, while a few people stay down below, then go up. You could use the Parasite, basically one phase him without going through most of the mechanics, get some encounter loot. I believe you get an automatic double loot drop from one phasing him anyway. Yeah, the Succession is a roll, and it's a pretty good roll, and it definitely is worth it to get because that drops from it, as well as the Heritage. So I wouldn't even use Deep Sight Harmonizer on this. I would just say this is a S tier 10 out of 10 get, because you can also get this within the now Onslaught mode within Destiny 2, and Onslaught is still going on. However, what they will not have is the shiny weapons drop, which are basically the only way you could get quote unquote adept weapon versions of the Succession. However, it has a different perk or origin trait. So if you don't like the origin trait that you get from Onslaught, definitely farm for this because it's worth it. Next up is the Rufus's Fury. Now this is a definitely must-have weapon because it drops with reconstruction as well as target lock, and for me, I use that roll over the hatchling roll that you could get or demolitionist roll that you could get, specifically because you could get like 100 rounds in this, and it's like a 600 rounds per minute LMG, but it's an auto rifle. It just shoots theoretically forever. It's a pretty good gun. I like it. I farmed Nezarec for it forever. Honestly, Nezarec takes like 2-3 minutes if you're with a good team each, but for me it just took forever to farm for it. So you could go for different encounters. I believe the encounter that this does drop for was probably planets, and I'll be honest, I'm glad that Pantheon came out because it forced you guys to learn how to do planets. And for the next person who's really trying to farm out the Rufus's Fury, you don't have to go what I have to go through and just go look for LFG groups, and nobody really want to get the weapon because nobody actually knew the encounter. So yes, thank you Bungie for Pantheon. Thank you. Next up is the Outbreak for Perfected, and I put this on the high tier of late game and whatnot because for some reason the exotic mission is set to legendary mode, so all of the monsters, even if you're doing it on a normal difficulty, has a difficulty spike in comparison to most other exotic missions in the game. For some reason Bungie did this on purpose. The only difference between the two modes is the timing, and with that it makes it that much harder for people to get the crafted rolls for the Outbreak Perfected. However, I do believe that the crafted rolls for this are worth it, and you should go for it. So yes, farm the Outbreak Perfected. Next up, I got the Cataclysmic. This also drops from the Vow of the Disciple. You could farm the first encounter for this, or you could farm Caretaker. Caretaker is the more fun encounter. Pantheon did drop, so you can learn Caretaker more with it. It's fairly easy. Either you stun the boss, you clear the ads on the side, or you could do run and do symbols. However, doing symbols is easy if you can remember them. If you can't remember them, just learn a different role and try and remember them as you can. However, with this, it's a very good perk combination because you can have 4th times the charm and bait and switch, and really is good for just about any boss. It's like a mini sleeper simulant, so definitely very, very strong. It's a solar weapon. It's great for just about all content. Definitely better than the Briar's Contempt because that is more so of a niche weapon. Unless something within the final shape requires us to have or utilize Surrounded, I would just say go for Cataclysmic all the way. So this is definitely a must-have in your list. Next up, I do have the Deliverance. The Deliverance is good because it rolls with Chill Clip. Really, the other good fusion rifle that you could get Chill Clip on is the Riptide that you could get from the Crucible. And the Riptide has a very big perk selection, so it may take a while before you get that perfect God tier auto loading Chill Clip roll. So the Deliverance also got buffed, so you only need to hit them with 2 shots. So I would definitely go for a good Deliverance roll, which drops from the first encounter of the Vow of the Disciple, and I believe the puzzle encounter, which is what, like the 4th. Very good gun. Definitely go for it. Definitely worth it. You have a good time with this one. Next up, I put the Forbearance in. I don't have this as the must-have because really you could get this from the Onslaught mode, and Forbearance honestly just got a nerf, and we don't know really how big the nerf will be to Chain Reaction. However, we do know Chain Reaction in the final shape will be nerfed. You can get this with an Ambitious Assassin, so you can have 2 shots loaded up. Really strong perk combination because all of your hits will give you more health back. So it's great for mid-tier, great for clearing ass, just a great weapon to use, especially if it gets any champion modifications for whatever season. Now we're at the Word of Crota. Word of Crota is pretty good. You can have destabilizing rounds as well as Dragonfly. It's pretty strong. Or you could go with Repulsor Brace. It's definitely a good perk combination for those guys going into the Void build mindset. So yeah, if you want to have some fun, farm out, Crota's in for the Word of Crota. Honestly, I would say this would be, and one other weapon would be the best weapons that you'll farm for this. So yeah, just have some fun. Talked about the Heritage a little bit. Really, it is an easy weapon to go for in the Deepstone Crypt. Just have to do Atrex. It rolls with Reconstruction and Recombination. Very strong perk combination. So definitely get it. Definitely farm for it. If they ever do anything to make this adept, I guess go for it. But I doubt Bungie will make this adept. Hopefully they'll eventually make the Garden of Salvation reprise and give us some adept weapons for that. I'm sure they're going to do that sometime next year, or this year. So we'll wait for that. I do have another great shotgun up, and that is Nessa's Oblation. And this is pretty good because it also has Reconstruction and destabilizing rounds. However, it also rolls with Dragonfly and Paracausal Affinity. So very strong for just about anything, and it's a unique perk combination, especially for shotguns in general. So yeah, go for this. You could definitely get this from farming Nezarec. It is definitely harder in the last encounter. I do believe you get this in the first encounter as well, along with Briar's Contempt. So, and the shot and the grenade launcher. So just something good to go for. So yeah, Acasia's Dejection is the next weapon that you would want to farm for. This comes with Reconstruction as well as Incandescent or Reconstruction and Target Lock. Very good perk combination, and if you're still within the season, you can have fun just utilizing Incandescent with the weapon. Just makes it fun to use weapons like this, especially when you're synergizing with something like Solar, and now that you'll have the new Prismatic build, this is just another reason why you will want to use this weapon combination. Now going to the Techeun Force, I actually did not discuss how easy it is to get these Last Wish weapons and why you will want the Apex Predator. Yes, during the Season of the Wish, they do have a way for you to get red borders easier, but this does go away when Season of the Wish goes away. However, just in general, farming out this weapon, I believe it's the first encounter of Last Wish. You could basically cheese it and get one weapon every 2 to 3 minutes by killing the boss in like within 30 seconds. And honestly, I farmed out this weapon within a week. I actually farmed out all my red borders within a week, and so it's not bad to get. I may have used 1 or 2 deep sight harmonizers because I just really wanted the Apex done. But man, go for these weapons. This is a very strong weapon. It also comes with controlled burst as well as reconstruction, so just another one of those great weapons that you can utilize in your energy slot if you have something for your first slot that you like more than wanting to use something different than the scatter signal. Now we're getting to machine guns, baby, and you know what? You cannot go wrong with the commemoration. You can get this by doing the last encounter or the final encounter for the Deepstone Crypt raid. It's not that hard to do. It's actually pretty fun. Farmed it out pretty quickly. You got this with the Bequest. The Bequest is probably the strongest sword that you could use. And in in-game content, really, all you would really need the Bequest for would be Crota's End. And like, if there's something else with swords, definitely farm out the Bequest. But this comes with 4 times the charm or reconstruction as well as killing tally. So yeah, pretty strong perk combination. Or you could do Rampage, great for killing ads, pretty good ad clear weapon, so yeah, go for it. Next is the Abyss Defiant. This comes with reconstruction and incandescent or hill clip incandescent. Hill clip got buffed recently, so gives you cure ×2, gives you a lot of health. I utilize this weapon. This was actually my first god tier adept weapon that I received in Destiny 2 with the hill clip incandescent roll, and then eventually it got buffed, so happy I kept it. Tyranny of Heaven is basically like the bow version of the Sunshot. Great weapon to use for PvE. Farm this out in the first encounter, a Last Wish raid. Great weapon to use, just get it. Chattering Bone, this is a weapon that's more so a PvP specialist, so if you enjoy PvP, definitely go for this. It has a lot of good perk combinations for you PvP lovers, and it's easy to get. Just farm this out when you're trying to get your Apex Predator. Honestly, just farm out all the Last Wish weapons because all the weapons they redone are either great for PvP or great for PvE, so just get them all, man. Next up is Swordbreaker. Swordbreaker is great because you can get Threat Detector and 1-2 Punch, and 1-2 Punch is always good for PvP. So these are for the PvP lovers. Get this from Crota's End. So once you're farming out that Necrochasm, go ahead and get the Swordbreaker. And then going on to Nation of Beasts, great for PvE and PvP. This rolls with Volt Shot as well as Dragonfly, so really fun perk combination. Just go ahead and utilize this if you know, now that we have Prismatic and just utilizing stuff like Jolt and utilizing elemental debuffs and elemental attacks to just build up your prismatic build. This is probably definitely a weapon you'll want to go for. So go ahead and get that Nation of Beasts so you could be the beast of at least a nation. The Supremacy is a very strong weapon. You can get this Supremacy through Last Wish. Honestly, like if you're ever doing something where you just want infinite ammo, go ahead and utilize Supremacy because of the combination of rewind rounds and bait and switch. Or if you want to use kinetic tremors just to clear ads and just have some fun slaying out in mid to low tier content, unless they actually provide something that requires you to use the Supremacy, it's just good just to have fun with. Defiance of Yasmin is more so of a PvP weapon. So for you PvP enjoyers, go for King's Fall, especially if you're a collector of PvP items. Just go ahead and farm this out, especially while you're trying to get that hand cannon, because definitely a good gun to get. Thing of AR2, this rolls with both rapid hit and hatchling. It's a pretty good gun as far as a scout rifle that you can use with your strand class. You can also have reround lines and sword logic. Yeah, just farm this out, and while you're going for some of your other weapons, just to have a stronger strand build while you're going for Word of Crota or something like that within Crota's End. So this is another weapon I was trying to farm out for PvP as well as PvE. And the reason why is because, you know, sometimes you just get tired of getting killed by some of these weapons in PvP, and you realize they're actually better than you think. And this is the case with this sidearm and just sidearms in general. I feel like they're stronger in the PvP meta as your secondary primary swap item. So this is definitely something to farm for. And the planets encounter is definitely the easiest encounter to get this in. And as I said, Pantheon has made a lot of us a little bit disappointed every now and then. Age-O Bond is a very strong energy weapon. It has repulsor brace and destabilizing rounds, as well as a lot of perk combinations for PvP. You definitely want to go for this while you're going for your Apex Predator, just because you don't know how strong it will be in the upcoming builds, especially utilizing your abilities. Next up is the Insidious. You get this from the last encounter, as well as the Caretaker encounter for Val the Disciple. Very good for PvP, very good for PvE. Just a fun weapon to use and get, so go for it. Has Dragonfly. Doom of Chelchis. So Doom of Chelchis has both explosive payload and Firefly in one column, and then it also has repulsor brace in the next. So good perk combination, definitely something you want to get. It has Dragonfly in the fourth column as well, something separate from the hand cannon from King's Fall, something you want to farm for. And last but not least, the last machine gun in the game, Song of AR2, has reconstruction, has target lock, has bait and switch, has sword lock, it has cascade point. It's just a strong weapon overall, fun weapon overall to use, and it's an arc frame weapon. So just get it, farm for it, just do your thing. It also rolls with volt shot, so just great for ad clear. You can use this in just about anything, so just go for it, have fun, enjoy the game. And you know, I hope with this you have some weapons that you want to go for and just farm for. There's definitely more things that you could do to look and utilize for these weapons. This is my personal list of weapons that I'm going for and filling out in my Destiny 2 collections. Is what I feel is good for in-game or just playing the game in general. If you have your own list, just leave it down in the comments. And honestly, if you have anything negative to say about my list, I don't care. I have fun doing this video, and if you like to see another one, let me know. And if you like this video, give my other video on how raid team personalities are whenever you prepare for farming out some of your raid patterns. It's fun and quirky and might just be what you need to start a nice binge watching session. Thank you.